Good evening, everyone. It is Monday, the 21st of December, and this is Attican for Neighborhood News Studio. We're live in the studio now in Temperance, Michigan. Got some special guests here with me, Ron and Susan Kokinda, who are Midwest coordinators for the LaRouche PAC. And if anybody has been kind of following our YouTube sphere as it stands today, McDuff or John O'Loughlin's channel has been corresponding with Harley Schlanger for several weeks now, talking LaRouche writings, etc. But I was doing a quick 15, 20 minutes ish talking with the Kokindas this evening about everything. Although at some point in time, I will have to get into the weeds talking about LaRouche and his writings as well in the future. And we have discussed doing that too. But could I just get you guys to do a quick intro for those that may be new tuning in, and then your thoughts on tonight, the election, and then what you guys kind of stand for with LaRouche. And I'll let you go first, Susan.
All right, thank you. Well, I think perhaps for those who don't know us, we could be described as the veterans of the fight that many tens of millions of Americans are now engaged in, defending the president, defending his reelection, because our organization is an independent organization on the ground for really, in a certain sense, over 50 years, led by our late founder, Lyndon LaRouche, has had as its mission creating an educated, mobilized citizens movement in this country, which is not beholden to the establishment, the elite, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, the globalists, but making very clear that those names really, those names are simply modern incarnations of what we fought the American Revolution against, an imperial system, in a sense, a modern day British Empire. And that what President Trump did by winning in 2016 as an outsider, as somebody outside the establishment, has given leadership now to the movement, which in a sense we've been trying to nourish all of these years. And the battle right now to overturn the vote fraud and maintain his presidency is really a critical strategic fight. It's not just the United States. The United States is critical among the superpowers in challenging this globalist imperial system. So that's who we are.
Wow, excellent. And Ron, did you want to add to that?
No, I think that's fine. I would just say the question right now is reaffirming our founding principles. We have a Declaration of Independence. We have a Constitution that set up this nation. Was the first nation that was established to challenge this global empire. And we're engaged in educating a movement that has the ability to understand who the enemy is. I would say one of the important things is LaRouche, Mr. LaRouche always said that the United States and the world really have only one enemy, and that is the British Empire. It's the empire system. We are fighting the same network, the same apparatus that we fought in the American Revolution. We're fighting the same crowd that was behind the southern states in the Civil War. And the fight to preserve this union now goes on. And what our role is to educate our forces, those that are committed to our founding principles, to be able to fight this fight effectively. And I think one of the most important things that President Trump has done is by fighting against this empire system, he's made millions and millions of Americans, they're more acutely aware of what this apparatus is, how much influence they have on the United States. Going into this election, it was really an incredible situation where, after 4 years of trying to drive him from office, we went into an election where the president of the United States, the office of the presidency, was itself being censored in terms of being able to get the word out. So it's a question of getting our forces better equipped, more knowledgeable, more effective in this fight.
That's really great stuff from both of you. And you guys, as I mentioned, are representative of and coordinating for LaRouche and what he wrote about and what he strived for. And for those that don't know, could you guys give a kind of a synopsis of what that was and maybe how those writings, those ideas came to you, and if you recall what that was like?
Oh, I recall. Almost 50 years ago next month, now that I think of it, I was having my brain fried on the University of Michigan campus and managed to stumble into, off-campus extracurricular course on LaRouche's economics. And it was like a lightning bolt. I said, this makes more sense what I had heard in about an hour presentation than anything they had tried to shovel in my brain, in the previous 3.5 years. And the key thing that struck me, and I think this is very relevant to people here in the Midwest, is that when you're talking about economics, stop talking about money. Instead, talk about physical production. Talk about how do you increase your physical production. You do it through scientific and technological breakthroughs. And that has been, that was LaRouche's, I think, fundamental discovery, which he himself made, which is if you're going to organize your economy, not on the basis of money, what metric are you going to use to figure out how to organize your economy? And he spent decades plunging his own studies into the great thinkers of history, figuring out who was on what side of the great divide in history. The imperial outlook, which looks at man as an animal, and the outlook which culminated in our revolution and our founding documents, which is that man is in the image of a creator and we have a responsibility to grow, to progress, to create. And I think the reason that President Trump has been under so much attack the last 4 years is he, like John Kennedy, is reawakening that in the population. And I would say especially around the president's space program, the Artemis project, to take us back to the moon by 2024 and beyond, to exert our dominion into the solar system. That scares the elite more than anything, just as John Kennedy's Apollo project and New Frontier scared them more than anything. And if we have a movement of citizens who actually understand more, not just what they're against. People have rejected the establishment. They have rejected the elite. But now they have to know what they're for. And it's not just words like freedom. Freedom to do what? Freedom to run an abortion clinic, as Dr. Tarver was talking about a few hours earlier, or freedom to actually contribute to the future of mankind through scientific and technological progress. So that I think is the entry point for people to begin to discover who Mr. LaRouche is and the relevance to the fight today.
Do you want to add to that, Ron?
Well, I would just make a couple of comments on the space program because this is something that the LaRouche movement has been fighting for since they shut down the Apollo program. This is what President Trump has done in reviving the space effort is just outstanding. You're talking about putting 2 astronauts on the south pole of the moon by 2024, which is a real push. You're driving science and technology forward. You're basically requiring us to discover new things in order for the program to be successful. And that is what is crucial to the future of the economy. So, man and a woman on the South Pole by 2024, the idea was to colonize the moon by the late 20s, set up a manufacturing industrial base there, as a prelude to missions to Mars and other missions throughout the solar system. This approach, as in the Operation Warp Speed for the COVID vaccine, this is what we used to call the American system of political economy. This is what FDR did in World War II, the World War II mobilization, how they could transform the United States in a very short period of time to not just produce tremendous output, but to make the advances that promises a future for the economy. And as Susan said, it's two views of man. You have the empire, which looks at man as something equivalent to the beast, something to be culled. And you have this American system that really demands that man's creativity be put at the forefront. And that's really what an economy is. This is so that's an outlook that LaRouche fought for all of his life. It's something that is echoed very directly in what President Trump did in the space program and Operation Warp Speed, and that's one of the reasons why the empire is so desperate to get him out of here.
Have gotten to the moon if this was based on private enterprise. Now we've made breakthroughs, and you've got Elon Musk and SpaceX and so on carrying it forward. And you've got the partnership between the government and Musk, to do these things. That's sort of quintessential American system economics. But it really does boil down to, what is it you're trying to maximize? You're trying to get a lot of money? Well, we see where that gets us. You've got billionaires and central banks running the world. Or you're trying to maximize the ability of your nation to perpetually progress by creating the channels where creativity, innovation, technology flourishes.
Excellent. Did you want to add to that, Ron?
Well, I would just say that to emphasize this question of money versus brain power, because if you look at this empire operation, Adam Smith, you're there. The invisible hand is the one that's stealing your wallet when you're not looking, and that it really is, why it's not money, because what we're developing for future generations is more power in the universe. I mean, there is an injunction in Genesis to be fruitful, multiply, and subdue the earth. You can extend that to the solar system and the universe, our galaxy and the universe. Man's role, man's creative role, we don't know what end, the Creator has in store for our role, but we know that we are developing the universe. We are improving man's standard of living because we're improving his power of labor. We're improving the quality of his mind, and that is a never-ending process. And to the extent that we have organized our society, organized our government, organized our economy to maximize that principle, then we're being human. And to the extent that people are trying to make dollars, that doing things that may be destructive to the economy, well, that's an empire system we don't want to have around.
And I'll just say, I saw a comment on the screen from one of your viewers saying, there it is, America was always an industrious nation, not a capitalist or communist nation. So I encourage people to go to the LaRouche PAC, www.larouchepac.com website. And if you scroll down about 5 or 6 posts, you'll see that we posted a wonderful video from Mr. LaRouche. We'll stop when we get there, which is entitled, there we go.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Is that it?
No, that's
next
the
one.
next one.
Next
There
right
you
there.
go. And just as your viewers, okay. Just as your viewer just said, the title, we titled this excerpt of a LaRouche speech, LaRouche shocker, the American system is neither capitalist or communist. Why didn't you know that? So it's a wonderful, I think, 40-minute presentation. And I encourage people to take the time to look at it.
Well, thank you so much to both you guys. And as I said, we definitely will do a deep dive with you guys one day on these all these ideas that LaRouche put forward. But some final thoughts from both of you on the situation we find ourselves in on this 21st of December.
No, I mean, the battle before us is the battle to secure the presidency. And again, if you go to our website, you'll see we have a marching orders post up there because the fight for the president is still ours to win. Our Constitution, our founding documents are extraordinarily powerful if we understand how to use them. They're based on a very simple principle. The only thing the republic is beholden to is the truth, not popular opinion, not, the power of some oligarch. So we're calling on people to mobilize in every way possible. Call your state legislatures, especially in the battleground states. Make sure they keep the investigation going. Make sure that they, as has happened now in a number of the battleground states, put forward alternate electoral slates to be put before the Congress on January 6th and begin the mobilization in Congress. Representative Mo Brooks from Alabama has said he will challenge the vote on January 6th. He needs a senator to back him up. We're, of course, here in Michigan. There's not a snowball's chance in the middle of the sun that either of our senators would do anything. But obviously, there are Republican senators throughout the United States who should be mobilized. We're suggesting that people hold vigils outside their congressional offices during this holiday period. And of course, boots on the ground. The rallies have been incredibly important. And of course, the next march on January 6th should be the biggest march in American history.
I would just say that the only way you're defeated in this fight is if you stop fighting. Regardless of what happens on the 6th, that is a big fight for that. Regardless of what happens on January 21st, we hope that we seat a second Trump term. But whatever happens on those dates, this ain't over. This is a fight for the nation. Whether it will survive, there's no going back to quote unquote normal. We either carry this thing through to win it eventually, or we lose the nation. So I think that is the only attitude that one can take in this type of fight.
Well said, both of you. And we want to extend thanks to Ron and Susan Kokinda for joining us this evening, as well as joining us earlier with Dr. Tarver. And a shout out to Andy DeBala as well for making things run smoothly, and Mr. Aaron Adler as well for helping run the Neighborhood News Studio. This is Attican for the Addy Ads and Neighborhood News. This has been Ron and Susan Kokinda, Midwest coordinators for LaRouche PAC, talking about LaRouche, election 2020, the Constitution, and the United States of America. We thank everybody for tuning in this evening. Stay frosty, folks, and we will see you all next time. Thank you.